Welcome to Good News on Entertainment. I'm Carley Boyette. Tonight, I'm so excited to tell you about Angel Studios' latest film to hit theaters called Sight. The film stars Greg Kinnear and Terry Chen and tells the true story of a Chinese American who defies all odds to become a world-renowned eye surgeon. Dr. Ming Wang has an incredible testimony of how he eventually found his faith after trying to restore the sight of a blind orphan. Before I talk with Dr. Wang, let's take a look at Sight.
You are the doctor, they say, who can work miracles.
Hello, Kajal.
Street beggars make more money if they're legitimately blind. So the stepmother poured sulfuric acid in each of her eyes.
Maybe 1% of vision remains. There's no chance to save it. She reminds me of Lily.
I know as long as we are together, we'll be okay. I will always protect you.
There is some part of me that thinks if I can help Kajal out of the dark, maybe
The Seeker! No!
I can help Lily out of hers.
You cannot change the past, Ming.
She doesn't deserve to suffer anymore.
Thought you said it was impossible.
I have to succeed.
I'm with you, Ming.
There's some things in the past that I can't get over.
Who says you have to get over them?
Oh, Dr. Wang, I am so excited to get some time with you. Congratulations on this movie.
Thank you, Carley.
Oh, man. So when did you take me back to the beginning on this story actually making it to the big screen? How did this kind of come about? Because, I'm just so excited for people to actually see this.
Well, I'm a first-generation immigrant from China. I grew up in China during Cultural Revolution, where from 1966 to 1976, for 10 years, the Chinese government shut down all universities and colleges of an entire nation and forcefully deported to some of the poorest part of the country and condemned each one of us, the high school graduate, a lifetime of poverty and hard labor. Over 10 years of Cultural Revolution from 1966 to 76, by shutting down all universities and colleges of the entire country, they sent away to labor camp 20 million high school graduates.
And let me stop you there because I am so embarrassed that I didn't really know that much about history. And it was so interesting to see that played out. And I wish more of your stories and people who had to live through this, and I'm sure there's many more stories. I just am so happy that we're shedding light on this.
Yes, the only way we as human beings to learn is to learn from past mistakes and learn how not to do that again. And so I called that Cultural Revolution when I was growing up. So in 1974, I was 14, and I was not allowed to go to high school. I finished my junior high. Even though I was a straight A student, I was going to be sent away to labor camp just like 20 million others for life. I had to learn to play a Chinese music instrument called erhu and learn how to dance, because if I could do that, I might be to get into the government song and dance troupe, therefore avoid being sent away to labor camp. Then in 1976, the Cultural Revolution ended. China reopened all of its colleges after 10 years, these colleges being shut down. And with my parents' help, I worked really hard, and I got into University of Science and Technology in China, the MIT of China, to study laser physics, chemical physics. Then in 1982, at age 21, with only $50, with a Chinese English dictionary, knowing no one in this country, could hardly speak in English, I came to America. Even though I was poor when I came, but I was happy. Why? Because I was free.
It's interesting. You watch your story on the big screen and this kind of unfold, and you think that it's all about healing others and what you do for others. But this really is a journey too about this, how this healed you and how God eventually healed you too. One of my favorite analogies about faith is that when you finally come to know God and see things through him, it's like you get a new pair of glasses or you get a new prescription. Like it just puts everything into a different perspective.
That's
And
right.
that's what this movie is a beautiful analogy for.
Yes, yes. Carly, have you seen this movie, God's Not Dead?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. It's a wonderful Christian film. In that film, there's this cute little Chinese student who came from China, changed from being an atheist to a believer in that movie, and that story is based on my life story.
No
Yeah.
way. My
Yes.
goodness, look at all this coming together.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the film, in the film, God's Not Dead. Notice that I used the word cute. The Chinese student. So just like that student, I found not only freedom in America, but also faith. I decided to become a laser eye surgeon. So I decided to get 2 doctorate degrees, one a PhD in laser physics from Maryland and finished postdoc at MIT. Then I decided to get my second doctorate degree in medicine, MD, from Harvard and MIT. And actually, I have dual training, medicine and technology. I performed over 55,000 laser vision corrections now, including over 4,000 doctors. So it was studying in the study of human eye at Harvard Medical School where my atheist worldview got challenged because I could not figure out how such a complex structure as human eye could form nearly flawlessly, nearly every time. So I kept asking Professor this question. So he took me out to lunch and he said, Ming, what's across street? I said, that's a car. He said, what's the difference between a car and a human eye? I said, human eye is a lot more complicated. He said, okay. Can you imagine how random piece of metal on the street form itself into a car? I said, no way. He said, how about human eye? Right there, he opened a window in my life, making me realize that the reason the human eye is so complicated but yet can form nearly flawlessly, nearly every time, is because it did not form out of randomness as atheists believe. It's formed with a purpose, and that purpose is vision. And there's a designer behind that. So I started my journey following recognizing this creator, and eventually, many years later, realized that creator has a name in Jesus Christ. And I realized that the life is not just about science; it's about science and faith together. So the film side is saying that in today's rapid scientific developing time, we have to have science, yes, but science is just the tools, and the belief in Christ has given all of us a purpose, what we're going to use the tools for. For example, after all this schooling, I start practicing ophthalmology, and I pray to God. I said, what should I use my long, hard-earned skill for? 2 doctorate degrees. Believe it or not, Carly, it took me all the studying 31 years. And so I was praying to God. I said, what should I use my long, hard-earned medical skill for? It was Christ who gave me this idea. I should use my long, hard-earned medical skill and physics laser skill to help those who need the most help, which are blind, orphaned children. So science gave me the tools, faith gave me the purpose. For example, we were trying to help these blind orphan children. Some of their stories is in the film side. And one of the questions I've been focusing on, dedicating much of my life to, is how to restore the sight in these kids who are suffering from injury, malnutrition, trauma, infection, one of the leading causes of blindness worldwide. And the only way to study how to reduce scar in the eye, restoring eyesight, is to study how an unborn child who can heal without scar. But can you do research on an unborn child, a fetus, without hurting the baby, right? So I got stuck between the conflict, what I thought was conflict between science and faith. Fortunately, I remember I was a Christian. I'm supposed to ask God for help and guidance. So I prayed and asked God, is there a common ground between science and faith?
This is why people need to go see the movie, because it's so beautifully played out. But I love that that was an answer to prayer, if that was a conflict for you on how can I use this?
Exactly. And the difference between just a scientist, an atheist, and a scientist and a Christian, in my case, and many others, is that I recognize, even though their membrane contact lens really help restore eyesight, reduce scar in countless number of patients, I realize that ultimately it's not my invention or my discovery, because I did not invent the placenta, I did not invent the amniotic membrane. God did. And God just gave me, as a scientist, the privilege to catch a little glimpse of part of His original creation. So glory belongs to God. So I decided to donate my patent of amniotic membrane contact lens to the world. I put my patent online and went around the world to about 50-some countries over a 20-year period to teach eye doctors from around the world how to use this invention, amniotic membrane contact lens. And all my teaching were free. Today, amniotic membrane contact lens is a worldwide industry of $5 billion. And eye doctors from nearly every nation are using it, and millions of patients have had eyesight restored. Even though in the process I did not make any money, but I felt because I did not really invent it, God did. As a scientist, we need to recognize that faith guides our research. God is that's someone who ultimate all the credit should go to.
Oh, I love that. As we get ready to close here, what is your message of hope? Because again, this movie, it does show a lot of traumatic things that not only happen to you and your family, but to these kids, that you're helping as well and what they've had to live through. And what is your message of hope for anyone who may be battling some of their own
Yes.
kind of, obstacles of why did God allow this to happen? Or why, if God is so good, why did he allow this? What is your message of hope for maybe anyone watching today?
One of the questions people ask me all the time in recent decades is that, Ming, why are you so devoted, motivated to help blind orphan children? And my answer is very simple. They are living in darkness, and I used to also myself. Who appreciate sight the most are those who used to be blind. Who appreciate freedom the most are those who used to have no freedom. Sight is a film about someone who used to not have freedom, who come to share with America today that we are so blessed, live in a country with freedom, and we need to renew our appreciation to America, to see the positive things in America rather than being fixated on negative things, to see that as human beings, not only we need the physical sight, which is precious, one of the most important senses as a human being, but also we need spiritual sight. So sight is about seeing beyond the challenges we face in our lives, the pain, the circumstance, ourselves, our own culture, and our polarization today. Sight is ultimately about freedom, about faith, and it's about the need for us as fellow Americans to put God and the country above everything else, to overcome our polarization, to find that common ground. So I would say that May 24th, let's go to see the film Sight in theaters, because let's bring young people, some of them leaving Christ because they're just studying science and technology, to show them through the movie Sight that God wants science and faith to work together, to bring our skeptics friends who still do not believe to realize that God wants you keep your science. Yes, you don't have to give up science to believe, but science is just the tools. Faith gives you purpose of what you're going to use the science the tool for. You may be engineer or computer scientist, but God will give you different goals as in my case, eye doctor.
Mhm. Amen. Doctor, thank you. I can't wait for more people to see this.
Thank you, Carley. Appreciate it.
Sight comes out to theaters May 24th. Go to angel.com/sight for more info or to find a theater near you. Now on to another release from Angel Studios, but this one you can actually watch at home today. Season 2 of the Wingfeather Saga is now streaming on the Angel app. You may remember this is the animated faith-infused children's series based on the best-selling books of the same name. The series is filled with fantasy, adventure, and some incredible voiceover talent like Jodi Benson. Jodi, by the way, is one of the most iconic voices of my generation because she, of course, is the voice behind Ariel in The Little Mermaid. Before my chat with Jodi, let's take a look at season 2 of the Wingfeather Saga.
Anira is sacked and gone. When we escaped, the whole island was burning.
So where do we go now?
We'll make our way west to Torborough, cross there to Dugtown, then light out for the ice prairies.
Run, Niggibies! They're coming!
Mr. Retief!
Huh?
You're alive!
Am I? The only thing left to do is surrender. Where can you run that Nag the Nameless will not find you?
There's too many.
Let us even the odds! Ha-ha! Oh, thy time to flee, good sir, is nigh.
We have to stick together. I'm the throne warden. You're the king. What if I don't want to be king? Why are you acting like this?
I will not leave Dugtown without Jenner and Kelmar.
This ain't the Dugtown militia on your tail. You're being hunted by stranders as we speak.
Girl makes a point. They know the plan. They'll stick together.
Raise the gates!
Don't you worry, boy. This isn't really happening. It's just the start of a pretty little never-ending nightmare.
I failed the king. I'm sorry.
If I survive these times, perhaps it will be my lot to scribe what I've witnessed.
Get out of there, son!
Tale of legends come to life.
He is near you, child.
This is the place. This is not the place.
Oh, I'm so excited to get some time with you, Jodi. How are you doing these days?
I am doing so well. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really, really appreciate it.
It's so fun to see, number one, the reactions for it. And you have, I know there's like, I mean, it's hard to beat The Little Mermaid, kind of the fan base, but this show here is really building in the community. Of course, there was the books that were out first, and then it must be so different, but still so fun to be a part of this as well.
I'm so thrilled for Andrew. I mean, Andrew Peterson is the author of the book series Wingfeather Saga, and so to have the TV series, the animated series, just flying off from the original books is perfect, and it's just been an incredible experience with our cast and our creative team. I love going to work, and I have so much fun creating my character of Mia. She's an amazing woman. She really is. She kind of does it all. I mean, she's brave, she's fierce, she's a warrior. But as a mother, she is loving and kind and sacrifices for her kids in a really beautiful way.
Oh, and it is. If people have not seen the show yet, kind of set it up for them a little bit. One of the things I got a chance to talk with some of the creators not too long ago, and it was the first time I had really heard of this faith infused programming, which I love. Because I think, in today's world, we need all sorts of genres and all sorts of things that kids can feel safe and families can feel safe about watching together. And this is one of those shows.
Yeah, it's a great series for all ages to watch together as a family. Very much along the lines for like The Little Mermaid, and where you can have, the child, the mother, and the grandparent all together. We have a lot of adventure in Wingfeather Saga. There's a lot of physical strife going on. There are, war scenes, battle scenes, relationship conflicts. It's really a lovely, lovely series, but it is action packed, especially season 2. Season 2 has just taken us to a whole new place, and I am loving it for my character of Mia.
And talk about the reaction again, because it's always hard when you come from a book series and then you bring it to life, on TV. I mean, people get very, very attached to what they read. But again, the fan seems to really, no one seems to be bothered.
I don't think so, and because Andrew is our executive producer for our series as well as the author, he keeps us in check and he keeps the scripts lined up so that, and he's already kind of worked through the entire book series in relationship to the animated series as well. I mean, I think there are 7 seasons that are pretty much ready to go. We are crowd-funded, through Angel Studios, which has been a huge success. And so because we're crowd-funded, you can see that people are happy with it. They wouldn't be donating towards the project unless they believed in it. So I think because we have Andrew at the helm, it's going to line up to his book series. And so we haven't had any issues with that. So far, so good.
Talk about voiceover work, and I think it's a world that I think so few of us really get a kind of taste on what that's like, and I can imagine there's maybe some misconceptions about kind of the art of this, but talk about maybe what some of those misconceptions are. I mean, what is kind of when you work on a series like this, how much time goes into it? I mean, it's just a fascinating kind of line of work, I feel like.
It really is. When I started working on The Little Mermaid, it was 1987. And at that point, animation was in a whole different place. It was kind of looked down upon. It's what people did when their careers were tanking and they were ending. It did not have the respect at that time. But with The Little Mermaid, we began what we call the second golden age of animation at the Disney studio. And at that point, animation changed, and it changed for the course of history for everything after. Whereas the level of professionalism and the level of respect, the level of creativity and ingenuity that's been put into our animated film just took us to a whole different place. And I think we're reaping all of those benefits now from then, because we do have every celebrity in the world that wants to participate in animation. And that's great. We love it. The more the merrier. It does bring a lot of notoriety. It brings a lot of publicity, to animation. As far as the depth of work that goes into it, it is very hard work. I will be completely drenched in sweat when I'm done with a session, especially if it's an action-packed session, because I physically act everything out in the studio. As long as I don't hit the mic or create too much wind in front of the mic, I physically do everything in the studio. So it's a full-on workout. It really is. And you can have a 4-hour session. That's usually the max for work as far as the intensity that's put into it. I usually just take one little quick break, but
you said there's a lot of adventure in this show, so that means
there's a lot of adventure. And so for 4 hours, you're kind of doing a nonstop cardio class for 4 hours is kind of what it feels like. It's great. It's a great workout, but it's really great creatively because you have total freedom behind the mic and you can make mistakes and it's okay. And through those mistakes, through your failures, you're falling forward and you're finding things and you're trying things and experimenting with things. So it's a lot of fun. I love animation being behind the mic.
Talk about, I love that you were talking about how animation has changed and there's so many celebrities and different people wanting to get involved. And it feels like that's also where the faith-based genre is heading to. You just have a lot more people, a lot more really talented and creative people that are willing to step in the game and really put all their efforts into some of this faith-based programming now. Are you seeing that? Are you getting excited about that? I mean, it's just so different from 10 years ago, I feel like.
Yeah, I think there's been changes and growths. You know, I've been in the industry now for 40 plus years and have done faith-based, non-faith-based. I've pretty much done it all. But I think for me as an artist, I just bring myself. And for me, in my complete package, faith is a part of my puzzle pieces. It's a part of who I am. It makes me who I am. So when I'm hired to do a project, I bring me, and with me comes everything. And so I've had total freedom to be able to be who I am, you know, as a person of faith, and to love and serve others when I'm at work, and to be light and salt, and to keep my eyes open for those God appointments. It's never really about the destination as much as it is about the journey. It's not necessarily about the end product as much as it is about the process. So I have opportunities in every realm that I work in to be who I am and be light and salt and love and serve others. And that's the biggest blessing for me.
Oh, amen. I love that. Talk about because you've also, I mean, music is just not just animation. I mean, you've continued on with on stage, and kind of what are some of the other things? Obviously, you have a family too. So what
Yes.
else is keeping you busy these days?
Oh yeah. I thought that things were going to slow down these last couple of years. These have actually been my biggest and busiest years of my entire career, last year and this year, which I'm very grateful for. Wonderful surprises. But yeah, I've got this series, and of course I'm full time with Disney as a cast member as well as the voice of Ariel. So that keeps me very busy in the studio with all of our ancillary products, all of our gaming, all of our upcoming projects that are secret projects that we're working on with our Princess World. So I'm very thankful for that. Do symphony concerts. I'm back on stage again after a 22-year hiatus. Homeschooled our kids for 17 years. They're 25 and 22. So once they both graduated from high school, I had finished my 17-year career as a homeschool mom. Took them on the road with me for all those years, which was a huge blessing, you know, to be able to be together as a family. Feel very blessed about that. So things are super busy right now. I'm on the road pretty much every week. Very grateful for it. And we'll just see what God has in store.
You keep shining your light and using that beautiful voice that God has gifted you with. And I'm excited to see where things continue to go for you and the show and the series, because, of course, fans want more and more and more. So, man, I really appreciate you taking some time in the middle of your busy schedule to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to your viewers and to your listeners. Mm-hmm. And we really appreciate your support on Wingfeather Saga.
You can stream seasons 1 and 2 of the Wingfeather Saga today. Again, just go to angel.com for more info. I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm Carley Boyette, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on your Christian Television Network.